Hello there, Liz Shaw from Shaw Lifestyle here, talking to you today about plank. Now, planks are fabulous, they're brilliant, but I do feel a lot of people don't actually realise what the purpose of plank is. There's all these sort of challenges to hold your plank for 24 hours and things which I find a bit crazy. There's a lot more to a plank, there's a lot more value to a plank than just how long you can hold it. Yes, holding a plank for a certain period of time is going to be beneficial, but once you get beyond a certain time, all you're doing is creating extra tension, learning to hold tension in the wrong way, which is the last thing you want to be doing. So what is the basic purpose of a plank? When I am in a plank, I am holding my body, whether I'm in on my hands in a plank, in which case I would be in what I would call a ski slope position. So my shoulders, because of the length of my arms, my shoulders are a little bit higher. I'm in a diagonal line, one held line, but it's a diagonal from my head down through to the tailbone and on through my legs and into my heels is one diagonal line. Whereas if I'm on my elbows, it is almost parallel to the floor. Perhaps not quite, but it's almost parallel. In either case, what I'm doing is I'm pulling the abdominals up against gravity. Because if I was to not work my abs, my tummy would just sag to the ground and my back would go. So that would be this position, letting everything hang out, instead of which I'm sucking the tummy into the spine and holding in a very straight line. And it's that straight line that is the magic part of a plank, because that straight line is what we should be doing when we're standing in our normal posture. If you're not clear on posture, hop into the other video all about posture. There's one about it. So when we're standing correctly, our body is held in one line. We stand upright to do that. So we're just holding a little bit of tension to pull ourselves against gravity, just a tiny bit. When we're upside down, as it were, in plank, we've got to work a lot harder. So it's a fabulous way to work all of those postural muscles, all those muscles that hold us in correct posture. That is the basic value of plank. And I don't just mean in order to stand well. If you're doing yoga, weightlifting, CrossFit, it doesn't matter what you're doing, posture is the basis of everything. Whether we're talking shifting a huge weight on a deadlift and getting into that correct posture on the end, or doing your poses in a yoga class, it's posture that's the basis of everything. So that's why plank is so important. Okay, let's have a look at it. So I would advise you starting from a 4-point kneeling position. So I have my knees directly beneath my hips, my hand is directly beneath my shoulder. And I'm finding that 4-point position because it's much, much simpler than a plank position. And instead of letting my back dip, no support at all, I'm pulling that belly button again into the spine, feeling that connection, working through the back to really hold that position well. Once I've established that in this much simpler position, I'm going to step one foot out behind me, step it out. Now, as you can see here, my back and my leg are on a slightly different angle when I just have the one leg out. But what I'm practicing here is a little bit of a squeeze or a pinch underneath my bum before I go into my thighs. So it's my glutes and my thighs that are working. If I then step my other foot out as well, I'm going to change the tilt of my body just slightly. So rather than back, leg, I'm going to alter it into one diagonal. So I step one foot out, and I'm going to press the pelvis downwards whilst pulling the abs up. So I'm going to push the bum down a little bit while sucking against the abs. Here we go. From here, press into that position. Feel that difference. Really feel it working. Okay. Now, as I do that, as I say, I've altered from flat back and diagonal legs into one position. And when I do that, what's really waking up is the backs of my legs, my hamstrings, and my bum, my glute muscles, which is what we need for our squats and our deadlifts and all sorts of other things, bridges if you're doing Pilates, yoga, so it comes into everything once again. So we've already thought about activating the abdominals, the deep abdominals, then we're going to wake up this area as well. Go one more time. Step into your one-legged plank. So I'm still not in anything like a plank here. My back is parallel to the floor, but I'm already thinking about just waking up my glutes and my hamstrings on this side of the body. As I step the other foot out and I just make that slight adjustment, it's going to be far more so. Squeezing into it. Feel that change. Feel the pelvis going into position. Now, as we're here, we're pulling the abs against the spine. The other thing I want you to feel, shoulders will tend to hike up. Slide them down to your tailbone. Don't let the shoulders hike up. Slide them down towards your tailbone. That is your true plank. Okay, now then, something to be careful of here. As we do this, amongst other things, we're working our lats. Our lats are down here, and if we're not working this correctly, as we wake up our lats, our back will dip. So it's very, very easy. I see it time and again when I'm coaching. I have somebody in a plank here. They're in their plank with a little bit of a shoulder hunch. So I say to them, slide the shoulders down, and they go, woo, no, up. So your shoulders slide down, but your abdominals are still working in against the spine so that we don't dip. Vitally important. So we start, of course, with sensing these deep abdominals pulling up against the spine, that sense of pulling the belly button into the spine. From there, step the one foot out, wake up this whole posterior area, step the other foot out, hold it there. You can work that into an exercise to build it up. So we would have, starting here, just as we've said, step one foot out, hold it there, find the position, press out, 1, 2, 3, and if you're a beginner, just come back in again. Go the other leg, same thing, stepping the left foot out first. Step it out, find that wake up call on your glutes and your hamstrings, and then press the pelvis into its change position as you step the other foot for 3, 2, 1, and step in one by one. If you are working with beginner clients, those of you who are PTs, that is what I would advise. If you're beginning yourself, that's what I would advise. As you become more advanced, it's still a good start position to go into a longer held plank. So here we go. Sucking the tummy up into the spine, not to the extent that the back is rounded, just to feel it held in position. Step one foot out. Feel the change in the pelvis as you step the other foot out and hold there. Now, when we're holding this plank, we are breathing, we're breathing through the spine. I'm not holding one for dear life. I am feeling a sense of length from the tip of my head to my tailbone and through to my legs. If you want, you can actually rock a little bit, still holding the line, but just getting that movement going. It's a good way to stop excess tension, unnecessary tension. Just holding where I need to and nowhere else. Drop into it. What happens otherwise is we just hold on for dear life, and that's not doing anybody any good. You want that sense of flow, flowing energy through the line of the spine. Okay, just want to have a little bit of a look at when we then do exercises which move the plank around a bit, because this is when things can go very wrong. What we're aiming to do I'm going to start with a side plank because it's that classic. Here is my plank. I am turning on my own axis into side plank with no lumps and bumps. So it's as if you've got a skewer through your body and you're rotating on that skewer. And that skewer is your spine. Just imagine the spine goes on to your feet as well. If you don't do that, what you're going to find is you're in your plank position here, and as you go into side plank, you get these lumps and bumps and funny things happening. Instead of which, I've found that long line. I maintain that long line as I rotate. Keep this hip lifted. Don't dip down. Keep that. Come back into center. You're still in that long line. You're not lumping and bumping. Same thing on the other side. Squeeze into the tummy. Rotate over. Do it in front of a mirror or film yourself if you need to, so that you can see the detail of what needs to be happening. No lumps and bumps. One last idea, same concept. I'm going to go into a walking plank, down onto the elbows and up onto the hands, because the amount of times that we see here everything going a bit wrong. In fact, no, I'm going to rewind. On that side plank, just to clarify, what I often see from here, you start with the hips, then you take the hand. Or you start with, everything goes in bit by bit. It has to come in one piece. So just rewinding to that previous exercise, if I'm here, try taking your hand off first and use your pelvis as your steering wheel. Same on the way back, steering wheel with the pelvis, bring your hand at the last minute. Then you'll find shoulders and hips working together, not pushing through one first. See that one more time. Here we are in our plank position. We're going to raise the hand off, just take it just off, and then start the rotation from the pelvis and start the rotation back again from the pelvis. Not bit by bit, one by one. Last thing, as I started to say before, walking plank, same concept. Don't lump and bump it. If I start on my elbows, here I am in that nice pelvic, parallel position. I step up, I'm not bumping. I'm rotating on my axis. I'm coming up, I'm rotating, I'm coming down. I'm not sticking my bum in the air. There is no point. The whole purpose of our side planks, our walking planks, is that we're still holding all of those postural muscles, but we're putting a slightly different challenge on them. If we go out of posture, we've lost the whole value of the exercise. So keeping that long line, you're rotating on your axis rather than lumping and bumping and changing the line of the plank. I hope that makes sense. If it doesn't, put a note in the comments. I'll come back on and try and describe it differently. Let me just show you what I mean though one more time. If we're starting here in our basic plank, as I go down, I rotate and I come down, I rotate to come up. There's a big difference between that and sticking my bum in the air. Absolutely no point. Keep that line through the pelvis. That's what this is all about. Lower down, down, come up, up, through a held center. That's the purpose of plank. So why do something else when that's the whole point of doing plank? It's a brilliant exercise. You do not need to hold it for 3 hours for it to be of value. You need to play around with it. There's all sorts of things we can do. We can do shoulder taps in plank. Same thing. You're holding as you challenge yourself by taking one hand off and then the other. You can do your side plank into a dip. Then you rediscover that line again. It's always about coming back to that alignment. So if you've not found that perfect alignment from day one, it's not going to happen. Take the time to understand true plank first and then take it on. Hope this has been helpful. As always, if there's anything I've missed, if there's anything more you want to know, let me know and I can jump back on. See you next time.